Hey guys, this is Wolf of Dimensions coming back at you with a new evolution of video, this time Anguirus, which is a fan favorite of mine, and the first monster to fight Godzilla, and his best friend in a bunch of cases. Now, for now, we're starting off with the Showa series, which is going to be pretty unique because we're going to split it up into two. 55 and the 60s, 70s Anguirus. Now, starting off with 1955, we have two dinosaurs who end up fighting. A new Godzilla after the original died, and Anguirus. Both are dinosaurs and are considered really ancient species, and labeled by scientists as evolution of the ankylosaur that evolved with more spikes. Now, what's important about this Anguirus is that it's a lot longer than the newer one. It has a longer, more rectangular back spike plate and has a lot more. And it also stands up a lot more, and it's a lot more built. It's more built to stand up than to get on all fours, which makes it very unique in its way to its follow-up cousin that we'll be showing next. Now, not many creatures usually do well against Godzilla. And also, another thing is this Anguirus' tail is a lot longer and a lot spikier than the new one, but as I was going on, not many creatures do well against Godzilla, but Anguirus was able to hold his own, and that's an important thing about Anguirus. He is very well known to take on creatures so much bigger than him, and he's willing to take on enemies that would usually outclass any other type of monster. Let's say you put Gorosaurus against Space Godzilla or Destroy it, he'd run away. But Anguirus is some would call it foolish, but I think he's a very courageous monster, and he doesn't back down from a fight. He commits to the fight, and he goes until he knows that there's absolutely no way he can continue to fight. He's a warrior, he's a fighter, he's a thinker. Now, of course, his head-first strategies aren't always seen as the best, but he has brains in almost every important section of his body. He has a brain in his skull, he has brains in his arms, his legs, and his tail. And I think in his back, too, which means that he's a very reflexive animal. He can think, calculate, and probably move really fast depending on the situation. It also, because he even fought Ghidorah, and he did pretty well against Ghidorah, until Ghidorah got the upper hand. Now, to fight Godzilla, he didn't last as long as I think I'd have hoped for him to last, but he did do a pretty decent fight, and even gave Godzilla a run for his money at times. And I think his loss is more attributed to the fact that he was a lot thinner, and he was not really, I don't think, fully built for fighting, because his fighting style wasn't the best. There's also the whole thing about his back plates flying up, but I really think that that's mainly because of the costume. I'm not going to add that as a character trait to 55, because I don't really think the creature's back flaps up. Now, here we have 1960s. He's a lot shorter, for first off. He's more built, he's a bit thicker, he's a bit bigger. His back plate is more round and fits to him more closely. And he has more spikes centered in one place. Now, this one ends up being the best friend to Godzilla throughout the series, and how Godzilla manages to make an alliance with an Anguirus is pretty interesting, because it's very unique, because it even took him a while to be friends with Rodan, but as it continued on, Godzilla and Anguirus were actually a powerhouse team, because Anguirus would never run away from a fight and had all his spikes. It made him harder to kill, and Godzilla, of course, is Godzilla, so as a team, they did pretty well together. Now, the focus for this one is, the main focus for Showa Anguirus is that he never backs away from a challenge. He even ran straight into Gigan's buzzsaw, which showed that two things: he's sometimes a bit slow, and he's not willing to run from anything. He will fight until the bitter end, which it makes him, to me, a monster that deserves his own movie, and makes him pretty unique. Not many monsters have his sense of passion, and he has a very strong loyalty, which I appreciate too. this Anguirus has never fought Godzilla, has never even, I don't think, considered fighting Godzilla, and not for the fact that it's weaker. If he wanted to fight Godzilla, he would. I just think that there was a mutual respect between the two monsters, and I think that a pure team was made. Now, I could go on all night about that, but we should probably move on. I'm not sure about coloration, but from what I do know is I think that the two species are close relatives, cousins maybe, because as you can tell, 60s Anguirus is, as I said, it's a bit bigger, it's a bit wider, and it's a bit shorter. I think it's more for, it's a more fighting type Anguirus, it's built for fighting, and I think the other one was a bit too lighter. I think it was a bit too light to be battling. This one is not as suitable to stand up, though. He's better on all fours. He has great jumping and digging abilities, though, which is very unique for a monster that mostly goes around on land and has spikes. So, I give him credit for that, too. Now, not many monsters can hold up to Anguirus' reputation. Now, you can easily say, well, he doesn't really have a reputation. He's a side monster, but the one monster that has fought beside Godzilla all the way through without ever fighting him once, save for 55, is Anguirus. Rodan and Mothra have both battled Godzilla, but this Anguirus from the 60s never fought Godzilla once that we know of, and that time with Mechagodzilla does not count. So that means that this monster has been more loyal to Godzilla than almost every other person he's worked with. Godzilla and Mothra have an off-on relationship, and him and Rodan became cool afterwards, but in the end, Anguirus is always the sidekick to Godzilla, and Anguirus is always the monster that you can expect to be there if needed. So, this is Showa. Anguirus, Millennium Anguirus, is very different, and we will get to him next, but I just wanted to say that this is a fan favorite of mine. He's a great monster. He has a great build-up. His body structure is amazing, in my opinion. He's just an overall great creature. So, like, comment, subscribe. I'll be giving more later. Oh, and give me suggestions, guys. Thanks. Wolf of Dimensions is out. Bye.